We'll begin with the war between Israel and Palestine, where fierce fighting is reportedly raging in Gaza, with civilians fleeing the center of crossfire through Egypt's Rafah border crossing. Israel is increasing ground attacks and the Palestine is insisting civilian locations are being hit. This is as the United Nations is also warning that Israel may face war crimes charges. We have a report on this.
The Hamas-run health ministry in Gaza says casualties from the Israeli airstrikes on the Jabalia refugee camp in northern Gaza has risen to at least 9,000. This is as the Israeli army expands its air and ground attacks on Gaza, under relentless airstrikes since the border attack by Hamas on the 7th of October. More than 10,300 persons have since been killed in the conflict. Egypt's foreign ministry has agreed to help evacuate about 7,000 foreigners and dual nationals from the war-ravaged Gaza, with the first batch being 400 persons. For the first time after weeks of the deadly Gaza crisis, the Rafah border crossing opened to let people out of the Israeli-besieged enclave. The Palestinian ministry in Gaza says a power generator of the key hospital in the northern axis is out of service. The hospital is running on a smaller backup generator, but had to turn off lights in most rooms. Palestine's health ministry says latest Israeli strikes on the Jabalia camp in northern Gaza has resulted in hundreds of people being killed or injured. Tuesday night, the Israeli Defense Force said they eliminated approximately 50 terrorists in northern Gaza and destroyed entrances to terrorist tunnels and weapons. Israeli air and ground attacks are increasing tension in the Gaza Strip. Reacting to the war situation, President of the United States, Joe Biden, says efforts are ongoing to allow over 1,000 Palestinians and foreign nationals, including Americans, pass through the Rafah border crossing in Egypt, as well as the movement of humanitarian aid to people in Gaza. He also affirmed that the U.S. will continue to support Israel's rights to defend itself with priority on the protection of citizens.
Working non-stop to get Americans out of Gaza as soon and as safely as possible. This is the result of intense and urgent American diplomacy with our partners in the region. I personally spent a lot of time speaking with the Prime Minister Netanyahu of Israel and the President Sisi of Egypt and others to make sure that we could open this access for people to get out. I want to thank our partners in the region, and particularly Qatar, who's worked so closely with us to support negotiations to facilitate the departure of these citizens. At the same time, we're continuing working to significantly step up the flow of critical humanitarian assistance into Gaza. The number of trucks entering Gaza continues to increase significantly, but we still have a long way to go. The United States is going to continue to drive humanitarian support for innocent people in Gaza who need help, and they do need help.
Meanwhile, the U.S. State Department spokesman Matthew Miller says the White House has made it clear that the war between Israel and Hamas has to be a two-state solution. Mr. Miller told journalists that is the ultimate solution that will provide a lasting peace.
We will reiterate it on this trip when people talk about the end of this conflict and what different options are for post-conflict scenarios. I think it's important, and the Secretary believes it's important, that we lay out kind of our first principles here. And one of our important first principles is the establishment of a two-state solution.
As the world watches, international diplomacy is hitting brick walls with no clues to a peace agreement between the warring sides.